Good morning, guys. We are here today working towards our 2022 goals, one of which was to use more whole chickens throughout the year rather than buying like breasts or thighs individually packaged. It's just more economical, and it's something that I want to get better at doing, especially if I plan to raise chickens in the future. To that end, I have purchased 4 whole chickens and we'll be butchering them today. I thought I would bring you guys along to show you how I portion out the meat and how I get it all packaged up and put in the freezer to use for easy weeknight meals. Secondly, we're also going to be using the bones to make some stock, and in that process picking the bones clean of any extra meat that will then go towards canning up some chicken base soup. So it will be chicken and peas and carrots, celery, that can be made into an easy weeknight meal for like chicken noodle soup or used as a base for chicken pot pie. So we're basically trying to use everything that we can, and I hope you guys learn something new from this. So first things first is to get these guys out of the package and get some of the water off of them, and then go ahead and butcher them, and I'll bring you guys a little bit closer as I do that just so you can see what I'm doing. So the first thing we're going to do is place our chicken on our cutting board, breast side down. The breasts will be here in the front, will be large portions of meat, and then back here in the back will be the neck, and down along here runs the spine. With the wings, you want to make a small incision in the skin, revealing the ball joint underneath. And then use a little bit of force, move against the ball joint, going in that direction to pop it out. And you don't want to get a bunch of the breast meat in your wing portions, so you're just going to use your knife and go in between and away from the breast. And you have your one wing. You can do the same with the other side. Cut through the skin, reveal the ball joint, pop it out, and just follow the curve and cut away from the body and the breast. If you're someone that grills a lot, you can go ahead and leave this little tip on there if you're one of those people who likes the crispy bits. We don't grill these, so I'm just going to find the joint and cut right through, and this is going to go in my stock. So go ahead and flip the bird over, and we're going to get these drumsticks off of here. Most of cutting up a bird is just finding where the joints are, and to do that, it's the easiest way to just kind of make a slit in the skin and just look for it visually. So these drums, we are going to make a slit and follow it down. Again, I just popped the joint out there just by putting a little bit of tension in the opposite direction. And something they always talk about is the oyster. And the oyster is a little bit of meat that just comes up here at the top of the leg, and you want to get that out there too. So use the curve of your knife and follow along the outside part of that oyster to get it all the way out. There we have one leg, and we'll repeat with the second leg. So moving on to the breasts, I'm going to turn it onto the side here and follow this fat line and follow the shape of the ribs all the way to the top. So the rest of this carcass is going to go straight into my roaster over here. Once the meat has cooked up a little bit, I'm going to pull them out, let them cool, and then pick off any of this excess meat because there is still quite a bit of meat on the bones here, and I'll set that aside to use later. So what I just did there was went ahead and cut off the tender. I'll use that for chicken tenders to bread and batter and set those aside for a little bit different. This is a big enough portion size of meat for the breast as it is, so I don't need this extra meat on there. I will use it to make another meal by collecting them from all of these chickens, and then that'll be a full meal for us. And there is a small fat line here that if you follow along just shy of the, or just to the right towards the drumstick and chop down, you should go through straight through the joint. And for my thighs, we don't really like the bone in, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull the bone out. And that just is basically using my knife to run along either side. Again, expose the bone. And that'll go into my roaster. So I've laid my chicken out onto a parchment lined baking tray. It'll go into the freezer and they'll solidify, and then I'll put them into resealable vacuum seal bags that I have so that we can just grab them whatever portions that we need from the freezer. We have 2 breasts here, and I have trimmed them down just a little bit extra because they are large enough that they're almost too large for a portion size for us. So I trimmed a little bit extra off and made another little chicken tender type fillet here, along with the 2 tenderloins. And then I have 2 thighs, 2 drumsticks, and I went ahead and chopped my wing tips down to make sort of wing style chicken bites that we will make into like hot wings or something like that. So in our roaster, we are left with all of our carcasses, all of the bones I pulled out from the thighs, and pretty much any sort of trimming or anything that was left over is all gone into here. We're going to go ahead and throw in about 4 cloves of garlic, celery, carrots, and some onions, skins on and everything, and we're going to get this roasting. And once this meat has cooked through, I'll go ahead and pull those out and pull the last little bits of meat off of this before throwing the last bones in, which will be pretty much just the bones that are left over from the main carcasses here. And then we'll move on to making our stock. So it's been about 40 minutes, and it looks like most of the meat on my carcasses is cooked through. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out and let them cool a little bit, and we'll pick the rest of the bones. I also have some carrot tops to add to this and some leftover bones from other chickens that I've had over the year, or this past couple months probably. So I'm going to grab those out of the freezer and dump them in here so that they can start to roast. So picking the bones is exactly what it sounds like. We are just going to go and pull all of the meat that we can off of them, just kind of in all the little areas that our knife did not get with when we were butchering. And this is probably one of my least favorite jobs to do, especially when I was younger. I have accepted it a little bit more as I've gotten older, but you will get quite a bit of meat off of these if you go ahead and clean your carcasses very, very thoroughly. So that's all the meat that I got off one of them. As you can see, it is definitely quite a portion. And if you aren't making anything out of these, you can use this for a really easy chicken salad for lunch or something like that. But we will be saving this for canning some chicken soup up. And the rest of this goes right back into the roaster. So these trays have been in the freezer for a couple of hours. Everything has pretty much frozen at this point, and I'm just going to package them up into these resealable vacuum sealed bags. They just have a little port and a little device that I can use to reseal them and keep as much of the air out as possible, and then they'll just go down into our freezer and we'll use them up. So that's it for today, guys. We got our chicken all butchered up. All the bones are here. They were roasted for about an hour and a half, and now I'm just going to pour a bunch of water in there until I've covered all my bones up. There's also celery, carrots, carrot tops, and onions and garlic in here. And I'm just going to let it sit pretty much overnight for 24 hours on about 300 maybe. You don't really want it to boil, you just want it to very lightly simmer. That'll give you a nice clear broth. And then about an hour before I'm ready to get done, I will add all of my aromatics, which is like the bay leaves, oregano, and rosemary. So that's all we have for today. I will do a part 2 of this, doing all of the stock, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!